Thanks for joining me on Tropical Weather Impact. I'm meteorologist Payton Malone here in New Orleans as we are in a typical summertime routine here on the northern Gulf Coast. Luckily, tropics remaining fairly inactive right now, but coming up here on Tropical Weather Impact, we're going to talk about two separate things. The update on the tropics, the Pacific is active. We'll talk about when the Atlantic looks like it might try to wake up, but we're also going to detail a heavy rain threat across the Northeast for your last day of July here on Thursday. And so there is a risk for some heavy rain, that direction being fueled by a cold front. And we'll talk about how that cold front could actually lead to some low pressure out in the Atlantic here. So a lot to break down. This is the flood risk for today, though, off the top. That flood risk is fairly elevated for areas in the Northeast, especially our major cities from D.C. to Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, all in that heightened zone for heavy rain as we go throughout today. Now, there's also other areas that are in a little bit lower risk, but that's where we're thinking the flood risk is going to be elevated today across the Northeast. This is being fueled by that cool front that's moving down to the south. So PrecisionCast shows that heavy rain threat starts to at least begin for these areas early this afternoon with rounds of heavy rain into the afternoon and evening. This is a slow moving system that could produce several inches of rain and flooding across some of those bigger areas or bigger cities in the Northeast. So that's what's going on with the rainfall risk here inland today. Now in the tropics, things are still very quiet in the Atlantic. Hurricane Center still not highlighting anything, whereas the Pacific is still very active. We've got two named storms, one in the eastern Pacific, one in the central Pacific. There's Hawaii. That's what's left of Iona as it continues to travel off to the west here as a tropical storm. It'll continue to weaken. And then a newly named storm form, Gil, is going to be moving towards the west as well. Now, when you look a little bit closer at Gil and its forecasted track, you can see it does take it up towards, it looks like it's making a beeline towards Hawaii, but when you look at the actual forecast itself, you can see that it's going to weaken considerably before it actually gets to the island. Water temperatures up in here are a little bit cooler, are much cooler. And so while we do expect it to continue to strengthen in the next 48 hours or so, could become another hurricane, it will then weaken as it heads towards Hawaii by next week, early next week. And so not going to be a threat there for them in that basin. Now, when you go over towards the Atlantic side of things, the Atlantic is still extremely unhospitable or hostile to anything trying to form. We don't have any significant development chances right now the way it stands. I mean, that's what's left of the couple tropical waves we were watching. They were fairly active a couple days ago, but that dry air and the stability sitting over the Atlantic has just squished anything. And now, when you look long term, there are some signs that the Atlantic may become more hospitable towards the middle of August. I think our stability issues are going to start to lessen and the dry air is going to start to lessen along with wind shear. So all that coming together, and we're heading climatologically into the peak of hurricane season over the next month. It wouldn't be shocking if we start to see an uptick in activity in the Atlantic, probably by the second week, maybe third week of August. That's at least kind of a rough estimate or a vague look at a long-term outlook here in the Atlantic basin itself. But again, this is really the only tropical wave we were following. Now, we are still going to follow this because it is going to be traveling northwest over the next week or so. We don't think it's going to do anything today, tomorrow, or through the weekend. It's just got too much dry air in it. It's moving fairly quickly. There's hardly even any showers or storms with it. And so that's not going to organize when it's got nothing going on with it. And so you can see the moisture here with that tropical feature. You can also see the dry air trying to get wrapped up in it. There's the moisture. It'll be near the Caribbean islands by this weekend. Probably doesn't do hardly anything. You'll probably even see some hazy skies with some of that dust. Fast forward into early next week. Here's that tropical moisture. Notice, slows down, and then tries to move closer to the U.S. So we'll watch it into the end of next week. We're talking 7 days from now. Some of that moisture may be close to the Bahamas or Florida. Now, models don't think this is going to develop into anything in the next 7 days, but we'll keep an eye on it. And as we do with all tropical waves, we watch them to see what they look like as they do travel across the basin. I do think, again, in the next week to 2 weeks, the Atlantic basin will start to become less hostile with less dry air, less wind shear. And if you do have some features out here, they may start to wake up some. So that's where we stand right now. The concern level with everything is extremely low. the way it looks right now. Again, this tropical feature, models are just not excited about it because of all these hostile conditions with dry air and a lot of stability. So when you look at our GFS and Euro, you can see they hardly have anything with this disturbance. And we know right now, based on satellite, there's hardly anything going on with it. So we can put it out in motion. You can see here we are Sunday, that dry, dusty air, kind of on the back side of that tropical wave. That tropical wave and moisture are confined here. Putting it out further in motion, you can see by early next week, Monday and Tuesday, that moisture is trying to approach Florida, but models just not showing it doing anything, and still some dry air behind it. Now also notice as we get into the middle of next week, we start to lose a lot of that dry Saharan dust. There will still be some wind shear, but things start to relax. Now on the flip side, where things could be turning more active, up here in the northern Atlantic off the East Coast. So this long line you see here by this weekend, that's that cold front that's bringing that flood risk to the northeast today, and that front's going to be draped across the Gulf. Now, anytime you get a front over the waters this time of year, you get a lot of showers and storms. Not necessarily going to be spitting out hurricanes, but you will start to see some low pressure form along this, and it's feasible that we see some subtropical systems maybe trying to form off of that old frontal boundary into the weekend and early next week. So if the Hurricane Center is going to be highlighting anything in the near term, it would likely be maybe some features off the East Coast, but the steering currents would be pulling all of this out into the Atlantic. And so the way it stands right now, while they may highlight some of this, I don't think it's going to be a threat to anybody here in the United States or anywhere. I mean, Bermuda's down here. And so that would be probably our next feature to keep an eye on, at least with the Hurricane Center. But you can see there just a long, elongated area of showers and storms there as we go through the middle of next week. Where do we stand so far for the 2025 hurricane season? Well, we've had three named storms, Andrea, Barry, and Chantal. It's been a while since we've had a named storm, though. July, notorious for having these long lulls. We are still forecasting a near to slightly above average season. Our average is 14. We're forecasting, at least the folks at Colorado State, 16 named storms. We're forecasting 8 hurricanes and 3 major hurricanes. These numbers are still within the realm of possibility simply because we are in the early part of hurricane season. Climatology shows that June and July usually do not come with a whole lot of activity. Now, some seasons like 2005 and 2020, you do have a lot of activity in the early parts of the season. But the fact that we've had 3 named storms so far, that's on par with where we should be for early August. So we're sitting here at the base of our mountain. August is usually when we see, history tells us, it ramp up. Climatology. Also looking at the latest variables, it wouldn't be shocking if we do start to ramp up here in the next couple of weeks. And then September, that's your busiest month. Hurricane season peaks generally around the second week of September, and then things remain fairly active even in some seasons through mid to late October. It's towards the end of October and November where things usually quiet down fairly quickly. So the way it stands right now, we enjoy these areas of lulls and peace and quiet in the tropics. This is when you should be doing those plans you can get done right now when there's not a storm threatening you. And so just use the peace and quiet while you can to get things ready, just in case we do end up having more storms here in the next month to 2 months or so. But enjoy the forecast while you can. We'll keep you updated here the rest of hurricane season on Tropical Weather Impact. We want to thank you so much for joining me here. You can always watch us on WWL Plus, or if you're streaming us here on YouTube. We'll see you right back here tomorrow, same place, same time.